Welcome to our deep dive into the world of building truly great teams.
Yeah, building and leading them.
Oh, right, leading them too.
Yeah.
We've got some really fascinating sources for this one.
Yeah, we do.
We've got this academic paper, Efficient Techniques for Leading Teams.
Catchy title.
Yeah, it is accurate.
And we've got a study guide titled Liderança e Trabalho em Equipe.
Which I'm told is Portuguese for leadership and teamwork.
Yep, that's right.
And a meta-analytic review from the Journal of Management.
Yeah, pretty good mix.
Yeah, so we'll be drawing from all three of those today.
Hopefully to equip our listeners with all the knowledge.
Yeah, to build amazing teams, whether it's for work or a community project or just for fun.
It's amazing how much emphasis we put on individual performance when, so much really hinges on how effectively teams can work together.
Yeah.
These sources offer a really good blend of practical advice and some in-depth research, too.
Yeah.
So we can get kind of a multi-dimensional view of this topic.
Yeah. The first thing that jumped out at me was the emphasis on goal setting.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds so obvious, but all three sources really highlight shared goals as the bedrock of a high-performing team.
Yeah. That's because they provide a sense of direction and purpose.
Right.
Think of it this way. If you're building a house, everyone needs to agree on what the blueprint is before you start laying bricks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up with a jumbled mess instead of a functional home.
Right.
The academic paper and the study guide both stress that individual goals should align with the team goals.
Yeah.
Which should then in turn align with the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The company priorities.
Yeah, it's like a chain reaction.
Right.
Where each goal reinforces the others.
Totally.
And the paper even gives a great example of senior management holding teams accountable through quarterly reviews. It's not just about making sure everyone's on track.
Right.
It's about actually having that structured way to acknowledge and celebrate progress.
Exactly. And not just setting goals.
Yeah.
But, actively monitoring and supporting their achievement.
Right. And how do we keep that momentum going?
Well, that's where feedback comes in.
Oh, right.
Another crucial element that all three sources emphasize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the study guide is particularly passionate about feedback.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely essential for identifying areas of improvement.
It goes beyond just identifying weaknesses, though.
Okay.
It really emphasizes feedback as a driver of both individual and organizational growth.
So it's like a loop of continuous learning and improvement.
Totally. It helps individuals refine their skills.
Yeah.
It helps teams adjust their strategies and organizations to adapt to evolving demands.
Yeah. And the academic paper goes a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah, it does.
It says that performance planning and continuous feedback are the cornerstones of lasting improvement.
And it's not just a one-time event.
Yeah.
It's this ongoing dialogue.
It's like having a GPS for your team. Constantly recalibrating and keeping you on the path to success.
Right.
What about the person guiding that journey, though?
Yeah.
The study guide makes a really interesting distinction between a manager and a team leader.
Right.
So a manager focuses on organizing and maintaining teamwork, while a team leader tackles problems creatively.
Right, and that's the crucial distinction.
Yeah.
Leaders don't just manage tasks.
Okay.
They coordinate, they motivate, and they evaluate team performance.
Yeah.
Constantly pushing for that continuous improvement we talked about.
Yeah.
Empowering individuals to achieve amazing results.
And so how can leaders guide a team toward that high-performing state?
Right.
So the academic paper gives us a really fascinating roadmap. The 7 stages of group dynamics.
Okay.
So it starts with forming, where a new team is just coming together.
Imagine a group of strangers meeting for the first time.
Yeah.
Everyone's a bit cautious, trying to figure out where they fit in.
Right.
The leader plays a really big role here.
Yeah.
Almost single-handedly driving the team's initial efficiency.
The paper actually estimates that the leader shoulders about 90% of the responsibility.
Wow.
For the team's effectiveness in this stage.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, the team needs that direction.
Right.
And a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And then as the team moves into storming, things start to get a bit more...
Right. Well, stormy,
yeah.
The team has a better grasp of their tasks and goals now.
Okay.
But they're still operating mostly as individuals.
Yeah.
So conflicts might arise as people assert themselves and try to, find their roles within the group.
Right.
But it's a natural part of team development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine it's really tempting for the leader to jump in and take control during storming.
Yeah.
To quiet the chaos.
Right, especially since they were carrying so much of the weight in forming.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a natural instinct, but
yeah.
The academic paper argues that navigating this turbulence is crucial
Okay.
for developing true teamwork.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the norming stage,
Okay.
where the foundation for collaborative success is built.
So how does a leader effectively guide a team through norming?
Well, it requires a delicate balance
Yeah.
of guidance and freedom.
Yeah.
The leader needs to be patient,
Okay.
understand the dynamics at play,
Right.
and be willing to let the team find its own rhythm.
Yeah.
Now, the paper doesn't offer specific techniques,
Okay.
but it stresses the leader's role in recognizing and addressing any ineffective behaviors.
Right. So they're almost like a gardener,
Uh-huh.
nurturing the team's growth, but allowing it to blossom in its own way.
Exactly.
And this brings us to the redistribution stage.
This is where the team really starts to hit its stride.
Okay.
They become more self-regulating,
Yeah.
requiring less direct oversight.
Yeah. The paper actually suggests that the team's efficiency
Right.
can reach a point where it accounts for 80% of the overall effectiveness,
Wow,
while the leader's role diminishes to 20%.
that's quite a shift.
It really highlights that crucial nature of the transition to self-regulation.
Yeah, it's like the team graduating from training wheels to riding a bike on their own.
Exactly. And once they reach this level of maturity, they enter the team customization stage,
Yeah.
where they can consciously adapt their approach to
Mhm.
different challenges and tasks.
So this is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
The team develops a shared understanding
Yeah.
of their strengths and weaknesses,
Right.
allowing them to adjust their working style accordingly.
It's almost like they become this shape-shifting organism,
Wow.
morphing to fit the demands
Yeah.
of any situation.
And this sets the stage for capacity building,
Yeah.
where the team's efficiency reaches its peak.
Right.
The norms and processes they've established
Yeah.
enable quick decision-making, problem-solving, and task execution.
It sounds like the holy grail of teamwork.
It is.
Achieving that level of performance where exceptional results are delivered consistently.
Absolutely.
But it's not just about individual talent.
Or even a great leader.
Exactly.
Both the academic paper and the study guide really emphasize that there's more to it.
Absolutely. Building a sustainable, high-performing team requires more than just assembling talented individuals.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating these crucial capabilities like appreciation for others, targeted communication, productive conflict resolution, and efficient program management.
It's like baking a cake.
Yeah.
You need the right ingredients,
Right.
but you also need to combine them in the right way and bake them at the right temperature to get a delicious result.
Yeah.
But speaking of ingredients,
Right.
there's one more crucial element that we need to discuss.
Okay, what's that?
Diversity.
Diversity.
It's more than just a buzzword.
Yeah.
Our deep dive into building successful teams wouldn't be complete
Right.
without exploring its powerful impact.
Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating how the Journal of Management Review really underscores the importance of diversity
Yeah.
in shaping team effectiveness. What's really intriguing is that diversity isn't just about demographics or representation.
Okay.
It's about embracing a variety of perspectives, backgrounds, experiences, and even working styles.
Yeah.
Think of it like assembling a puzzle.
Yeah.
Each piece, unique in its shape and color,
Right.
contributes to the bigger picture.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And the review's findings back this up,
I do.
stating that teams perform better when members bring different mindsets, backgrounds, and expertise to the table.
Right. Imagine a team tackling a really complex problem.
Yeah.
Having diverse perspectives
Yeah.
can spark creativity
Yeah.
and lead to innovative solutions that might not have emerged
Yeah.
in a homogeneous group.
It's like having multiple lenses
Right.
focusing on the same issue.
Totally. Each lens reveals something different,
Yeah.
leading to a richer understanding and a more robust solution.
And the review highlights that diverse teams are generally more adaptable,
Right.
more creative, and better at problem solving. It actually reminds me of a story I read about a company
Oh, yeah.
struggling to develop a new marketing campaign.
Okay.
The team, composed of individuals with similar backgrounds and experiences,
Right.
was just stuck in a creative rut. They brought in someone from a completely different department with a fresh perspective, and boom, the ideas started flowing.
It's a classic example of how diversity can unlock a team's potential.
Yeah.
When everyone thinks alike, you risk falling into an echo chamber
Yep.
where ideas just bounce around without evolving.
Right.
Diversity challenges assumptions, pushes boundaries, and encourages that out-of-the-box thinking.
It makes you wonder how many brilliant ideas are never realized.
Right.
Because teams lack that diversity of thought.
Yeah.
But simply building a diverse team isn't enough, is it?
No, it isn't.
You need to create an environment where everyone feels valued,
Yes.
respected, and empowered to contribute their unique perspective.
That's where inclusive leadership becomes crucial.
Okay.
Inclusive leaders foster a sense of belonging,
Yeah.
making sure everyone feels comfortable sharing their ideas and perspectives
Right.
without fear of judgment or exclusion.
So it's not just about having diverse voices in the room.
No.
It's about making sure those voices are heard
Exactly.
and genuinely considered.
Precisely. And this actually circles back
Okay.
to the importance of feedback and open communication that we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
Fostering an inclusive environment requires continuous effort,
Right.
actively listening to understand different perspectives,
Yeah.
being open to challenging your own assumptions,
Right.
and creating safe spaces for open dialogue.
It's about weaving diversity and inclusion into the fabric of the team's culture.
Exactly.
Now, shifting gears a bit,
Okay.
the Journal of Management Review also delves into the impact of team design on performance,
Right.
exploring factors like team size task, meaningfulness, autonomy, and intra-team coordination.
Right.
What are some of the key insights that emerged from their analysis?
Well, one interesting finding was the relationship between team size and the type of team.
Okay.
Larger teams, while potentially more complex to manage,
Yeah,
were found to be beneficial for management and project teams.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's likely because these teams often operate in really intricate environments,
Yeah.
requiring a wider range of skills and expertise to navigate effectively.
So you need more hands on deck
Yeah,
when dealing with a complex project or
Yeah.
managing a large-scale operation.
right.
But what about task meaningfulness?
Okay.
We've all been part of projects where the work felt uninspiring
Yeah.
or disconnected from the bigger picture.
Right.
How does that impact team performance?
Well, the review found that task meaningfulness is a significant driver of team performance.
Okay.
When team members understand the importance and impact of their work,
Yeah.
they're much more likely to be engaged, motivated, and committed to achieving success.
Yeah, it's like the difference between simply going through the motions and pouring your heart and soul into something you believe in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The review also highlighted autonomy as a crucial factor.
Right.
What did they uncover about the relationship between autonomy and team performance?
Well, the findings around autonomy are quite fascinating.
Okay.
The review suggests that giving teams more decision-making freedom can lead to higher performance.
Yeah.
However, the impact of autonomy can vary depending on the type of work.
Okay.
Surprisingly, autonomy might be even more beneficial for teams engaged in physical work.
That is surprising.
Right.
I would assumed that autonomy would be more crucial for knowledge workers who
Right.
thrive on creativity and problem solving.
Yeah, what could explain this difference?
Yeah.
Well, it's possible that teams engaged in physical work might experience greater benefits from autonomy
Okay.
due to reduced reliance on constant direction and supervision.
Right.
Imagine a construction crew tasked with building a house,
Yeah.
giving them the autonomy to determine the most efficient way to complete the task. Yeah, might lead to better results than micromanaging every step of the process.
Right.
But regardless of the type of work,
Yeah.
it seems that a certain level of autonomy is crucial
Yeah.
for fostering a sense of ownership
Right.
and empowering teams to take responsibility for their success.
It's about trusting your team
Right.
and giving them the freedom to operate at their best.
Exactly.
Now, the review also mentions intra-team coordination.
Uh-huh.
I imagine that smooth collaboration is essential
Right.
for any team to function effectively.
Yeah.
What did the researchers discover?
Well, the review found that intra-team coordination,
Okay.
or the ability of team members to effectively work together,
Right.
is a significant predictor of team success.
Uh-huh.
When team members can seamlessly share information, synchronize their efforts, and support each other,
Yeah.
they're more likely to achieve their goals efficiently and effectively.
It makes sense if everyone's working in silos,
Right.
duplicating efforts and struggling to communicate. It's going to create chaos
Right.
and hinder progress.
Good coordination is like the oil that keeps the engine running smoothly.
Yeah, but how can teams foster this kind of seamless collaboration?
Right.
Are there any insights from our sources that shed light on building strong intra-team coordination?
Building effective inter-team coordination requires a multifaceted approach.
Okay.
It's about establishing clear communication channels,
Yeah.
fostering a culture of collaboration,
Uh-huh.
and ensuring that everyone understands their roles and responsibilities within the team.
Right.
The academic paper, for example, highlights the importance of shared mental models.
Okay.
When team members have a shared understanding of the task,
Right.
your roles, and the strategies for achieving their goals,
Yeah.
they're much more likely to work together seamlessly.
It's like having a shared map
Right.
that everyone can refer to,
Uh-huh.
ensuring everyone's heading in the same direction,
Right.
working towards the same destination.
Yeah.
But creating this kind of shared understanding takes time and effort.
It does.
It requires a commitment to communication transparency and a willingness to learn from each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Absolutely. And it's not a one-time fix.
Right.
Teams need to continually nurture their collaborative spirit,
Yeah.
especially as they evolve and face new challenges.
Right.
Building strong intra-team coordination is an ongoing journey.
It's like tending a garden.
Right.
You need to consistently water, weed, and nurture the plants to ensure they thrive.
Exactly.
But speaking of nurturing,
Yep.
let's shift our focus to the role of leadership in shaping team success.
Right.
The Journal of Management Review specifically discusses transformational and empowering leadership styles.
Okay.
Can you explain these leadership styles and their impact on team performance?
Of course. So we're talking about these leadership styles, transformational and empowering leadership.
Yeah, they seem to be getting a lot of attention lately.
Yeah, they do.
What makes them so effective in the context of teamwork?
These leadership styles really resonate
Yeah.
because they tap into the core of what makes teams thrive.
Okay.
Inspiration, motivation, and a sense of ownership.
Yeah.
Transformational leaders are kind of like beacons,
Uh-huh.
guiding and inspiring their teams with a clear vision
Right.
and a passion that's contagious.
Yeah.
They challenge their team members to go above and beyond,
Yeah.
not for personal gain,
Okay.
but for the collective good of the project or the organization.
It's almost like they elevate the team's purpose
Right.
so that the work feels more meaningful and impactful.
Yeah,
I can see how that would boost both morale and performance.
definitely.
What about empowering leadership, though?
Okay.
How does that style differ from transformational leadership?
Well, transformational leadership focuses on inspiring that shared vision.
Mm-hmm.
Empowering leadership is all about fostering self-management within the team.
Okay.
Empowering leaders delegate responsibility.
Yeah.
They provide the necessary resources and support, and then they step back to allow the team to take ownership of their work.
So it's less about dictating and
Mm.
more about facilitating.
Yeah.
It sounds like empowering leadership is about creating an environment
Yes.
where team members feel trusted, capable, and motivated to take initiative.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the Journal of Management Review found that both transformational and empowering leadership styles
Yeah?
are positively linked to team performance.
Oh, okay.
However, the research also suggests that the impact of these leadership styles can vary,
Right.
depending on the specific context.
So there's no one-size-fits-all approach
Right.
to leadership.
Right. Different teams, projects, and organizational cultures
Yeah.
might require different leadership approaches.
So it's about adapting your style
Right.
to fit the needs of your team
Uh-huh.
and the situation at hand.
Exactly.
But regardless of the specific style, it seems that effective leadership plays a critical role
Yeah.
in shaping team success.
Yeah, it's not just about managing tasks.
Mm.
It's just about inspiring, empowering, and guiding teams
Yeah.
toward achieving their full potential.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into building and leading successful teams,
Yeah.
what are some key takeaways that our listeners can apply to their own work and lives?
Right.
What are the essential ingredients for creating teams that achieve incredible things?
Well, we've uncovered a wealth of insights from our sources.
Yeah.
But if I were to distill it down to a few key principles,
Okay.
I'd say this: first, shared goals are the foundation of any successful team.
Yeah.
Make sure everyone's on the same page,
Right.
understands the bigger picture,
Right.
and feels a sense of ownership
Okay.
over their contribution.
Right.
Second, feedback is not just a tool for improvement,
Uh-huh.
it's a catalyst for growth.
Okay.
Encourage open communication, active listening,
Right.
and constructive feedback to foster a culture of continuous learning.
Yeah.
Third, embrace diversity in all its forms.
Okay.
Seek out different perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences to spark creativity, challenge assumptions, and drive innovation.
Right.
And finally, cultivate leadership that empowers, inspires, and supports.
Oh,
Remember, effective leadership is not about control.
right.
It's about creating an environment where everyone can thrive
Yeah.
and contribute their best.
Those are some fantastic insights.
Yeah.
Building and leading successful teams is a journey,
Right.
not a destination.
It's about embracing these principles,
Yeah.
adapting them to your unique context,
Right.
and continuously learning and evolving along the way.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to be a designated leader
Yeah.
to apply these principles.
Right.
Anyone can contribute to creating a more collaborative, inclusive,
Yeah.
and high-performing team environment.
Totally.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of teams.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights
Yeah.
that you can put into practice.
I hope so.
Remember, building a great team is a rewarding endeavor that can lead to incredible achievements.
Definitely.
So go out there, embrace collaboration,
Yeah.
and unleash the power of teamwork.
Yeah. So these leadership styles, transformational and empowering leadership.
Right. They seem to be getting a lot of attention lately.
Yeah. They are for good reason, too.
So makes them so effective, especially when we're talking about teamwork.
Well, they both tap into the core of what makes teams thrive.
Okay.
Inspiration, motivation, a sense of ownership.
Yeah.
Transformational leaders are like beacons,
Okay.
guiding and inspiring their teams with a clear vision and a passion that's contagious.
Mm-hmm.
They challenge team members to go above and beyond,
Right.
not just for themselves, but for the good of the whole project or organization.
It's like they elevate the whole team's purpose,
Right.
making the work feel more meaningful and impactful.
Exactly.
And that would definitely boost both morale and performance.
Yeah, definitely.
What about empowering leadership?
Okay, so that's a little bit different.
Yeah, how is it different?
Well, transformational leadership is about inspiring a shared vision.
Right.
Empowering leadership is about fostering self-management within the team.
Okay.
Empowering leaders, they delegate responsibility,
Huh.
they provide the resources and support,
Mm-hmm.
and then they step back and they let the team take ownership of the work.
So it's less about that top-down dictation.
Exactly.
And more about facilitating and creating that environment
Right.
where team members feel trusted, capable, and motivated to take the initiative.
Exactly. And the Journal of Management Review actually found that both transformational and empowering leadership styles are positively linked to team performance.
Interesting.
But the research also suggests that their impact can vary a lot depending on the context.
So there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it
Right.
comes to leadership.
Different teams, different projects, different organizational cultures.
Yeah.
They might require different leadership approaches.
It's really about adapting your style
Right.
to fit the needs of the team and the situation at hand.
Exactly.
But it does seem like, regardless of the specific style, that leadership itself
Right.
plays a critical role in shaping team success.
Oh, for sure. It's not just about managing tasks.
Right.
It's about inspiring, empowering, and guiding teams to reach their full potential.
And leadership isn't a solo act, is it?
It's not, no.
It really is a collaborative process.
It is.
It involves building trust, fostering open communication,
Yeah.
creating an environment where everyone feels valued and empowered to contribute.
Right. The most successful leaders are the ones who can leverage the diverse strengths and perspectives of everyone on their team.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what are some key takeaways our listeners can use?
Okay, well, we've covered a lot.
We have.
But if I were just to pick a few key principles to sum it all up,
Okay.
I'd say first, shared goals are the foundation of any successful team.
Makes sense.
Everyone needs to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Understand the big picture, feel a sense of ownership over what they're doing.
Right.
Second, feedback is not just for improvement, it's for growth. Encourage open communication, active listening, constructive feedback. It all fosters that culture of continuous learning.
Yeah.
Third, embrace diversity.
Okay.
In all its forms, seek out different perspectives, backgrounds, experiences.
Right.
It sparks creativity, challenges assumptions, and drives innovation.
Absolutely.
And finally, cultivate leadership that empowers, inspires, and supports.
Yeah.
Effective leadership is not about control.
Right.
It's about creating an environment where everyone can thrive and contribute their best.
I love it.
Yeah,
Building and leading successful teams is a journey,
it is.
not a destination.
It's about embracing these principles,
Mhm.
adapting them to your unique context,
Right.
and just learning and evolving along the way.
And, you don't have to be a designated leader to apply these principles.
That's true.
Anyone can contribute to creating a more collaborative, inclusive,
Yeah,
high-performing team environment.
exactly.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into teams.
My pleasure.
I hope you've gained some valuable insights that you can put into practice.
Me too.
Building a great team is a rewarding endeavor,
It is.
and it can lead to incredible achievements.
Absolutely.
So go out there, embrace collaboration, and unleash the power of teamwork.